When severe weather hits, we are there. On your TV,
there is some of that rotation there,
and on your phone. Before the storm.
Hey, we just got an alert that there's a tornado watch. Do you care if we come downstairs and hang out with you for a little bit?
That's fine, come on in.
And after.
I don't have a house. It's gone. It's gone. There's nothing but a floor.
Whether it's a tornado.
The news started telling us that there was another one coming, and it was coming from the direction of Gun Barrel City and Kemp. So I went outside on my front porch and looked out. The tornado was coming from right through there, coming directly towards us.
Or high winds.
You worry about tornadoes, and you don't always worry about the high winds, but they can be just as damaging whether there's a tornado there or not.
We've got you covered, East Texas.
Stay safe, stay informed, stay weather aware with CBS 19's Brittany Morales.
Good evening, East Texas. Thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist Brittany Morales, and for the next hour, we will be talking about all things weather, from thunder to lightning to tornadoes. Stick with us, East Texas, because we've got you covered. Well, we see a lot of different weather in East Texas, but remember, we do live in one of the largest states in the nation. So let's walk through some of the climate conditions around the state.
And story after story, it seems like everyone just can't wait to pack up their bags and head on down the road to become a newly transplanted Texan. The reasons for this can vary, but you know people are always thinking about that nice, warm Texas weather. Hey, Joel.
Everyone thinks of warm weather when they think of Texas, but our state, it's way more than a one-trick pony when it comes to Mother Nature. So before you consider a move or that next trip around the state, let's look at 5 different climate conditions you can experience, yet still somehow be in good old Texas. Let's start right here in our backyard in East Texas. When it comes to living with moisture and humidity, there are few places that can beat the piney woods from the Arklatex all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Southerly winds keep us stuck in hot and humid weather for months and under the threat of storms pretty much every spring. Rainfall totals can range from around 46 inches here in Tyler to get this all the way up to 60 inches down in the Gulf.
Speaking of the Gulf, if you're looking for a place to relax, the Gulf region is the place to do it. Who needs Florida anyways? With gorgeous beaches stretching the coast from Galveston to Corpus Christi and down to South Padre Island, you can take a vacation without ever leaving home. That isn't to say the weather is never a problem. This is hurricane country, and Texas can see one almost every year. In fact, since records have been kept, the longest stretch without a hurricane in Texas was just 10 years.
Whoa, it's a little windy out there. 10 years without a storm, that would be an eternity when talking major storms in North Texas. Tornadoes are a yearly issue when it comes to living on the southern end of Tornado Alley. Just ask the residents of DFW. All the modern conveniences of big city life with all the severe weather on the open plains. In fact, going back to 1956, Tarrant and Dallas counties have only seen 9 years where a tornado was not recorded between them. The numbers add up to 194 tornadoes in just 63 years, or averaging about 3 per year.
Okay, so as an El Paso native, I know the solution to avoiding all this wet and stormy weather. All you gotta do is just move to the desert. Believe it or not, humidity can drop from an average of 98% in Houston to just 8% in El Paso during the summer months. So that just leaves the 15 or so small to sometimes large dust storms every year. Okay, maybe a little moisture wouldn't hurt too bad.
True. That's going to depend on the temperature when that moisture moves through. If your goal in Texas is to be as far away from winter weather as possible, you need to stay far away from the panhandle. Wait a second. Just because I live in Michigan, y'all are going to make me talk about snow. And I was trying to get away from this stuff. Okay. If you want to find the white stuff in Texas, the Panhandle is the spot to do it. Amazingly, the town of Amarillo, right in the center of the Panhandle, averages around 19 inches of snow per year and has already had a storm drop 5.5 inches in one round back in late October of 2019. Really, Joel? Where'd you put that other coat?
So that's just a taste of the weather and climate Texas can offer up, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
So get out and enjoy Texas. Your local meteorologists have always got you covered.
Well, speaking of summers and winters, let's talk about some of the coldest and hottest temps we've seen around East Texas. Longview has both cities beat by just 3 degrees with 113 degrees, and that was set on a scorching August day in 1936. Back in August of 2011, Tyler saw its hottest temp of 110 degrees. Lufkin also has 110 degrees as its hottest temp, but theirs was set back in 2000. Now let's check out some of the lowest temps we've ever had. Can you say Burr? Longview had the coldest temp set back in 1930 of -4 degrees. Lufkin came in second with the coldest temp of -2 degrees back in 1951. And Tyler had its lowest temp of 0 degrees, 0 on the dot, set back in 1899. All right, well, speaking of freezing temps, let's see some of the records on what goes along with freezing weather. Snow. Longview has the top for both Tyler and Longview of 12 inches of snow set back in 1929. And I know I always wish for a white Christmas, but that's a little bit too much wishing right there. Back in 1949, at the end of January, both Lufkin and Tyler got to enjoy a winter wonderland overload, to say the least. Tyler had 7.5 inches of snow and Lufkin had 8.11 inches. So you just learned about our state climate. Next, we'll look into what we see too often here in East Texas: severe weather. Don't go anywhere. Here in East Texas, we are no strangers to severe weather. We already saw devastating severe storms within the first month of the year. But what brings all of these things to East Texas? Well, there's quite a bit of patterns in the atmosphere that can bring severe weather. Some are a dry line, a hurricane, and a frontal boundary. Now, most of us across the nation know how catastrophic hurricanes can be and how much severe weather goes along with it. East Texas is a little bit too inland to get some of those direct effects from a hurricane because usually it downgrades to a tropical storm when it gets into the region. But this system can still bring a lot of heavy rain to East Texas, leading to flooding. Now, a frontal boundary are what brings most of the severe weather to East Texas. The cold fronts have cold air behind it, and when it moves southeast, it pushes up warm, humid air, causing a line of storms that we too often see. Now, severe weather isn't always tornadoes. Other times it's flooding like we saw back in the beginning of May 2019 in Kilgore. Take a look at this drone footage given to us from the city of Kilgore of flooding they experienced back then. I spoke with Clay Evers, the director of Public Works, who told me that the areas that are flooded are uncommon areas for water to collect. With the absence of any additional heavy rain during that time, the creeks and the streams quickly receded. Not only do we have to worry about flooding as a severe weather threat, but we also have to worry about hail, which in 2019, we saw some of the largest ever recorded in Grapeland. Last year, on the 6th of April, there was a hail report of 4.5 inches, which is about the size of a grapefruit. And that size can do some serious damage, as seen there in the video. Small hail can fall at speeds of 20 miles per hour and sometimes go past 100 miles per hour when they're the size that we saw in Grapeland that day. The other severe weather threat we know all too well is damaging wind, which has caused many of us to spend days without power. Some areas in East Texas have seen 100-mile-per-hour straight-line wind, causing several large trees to fall on top of buildings and in roads. Sadly, falling trees seem to have become a norm during severe weather. That's why it's always important to be prepared beforehand. So what happens when the thunder roars or the lightning strikes? Lots of things. Up next, we'll take a closer look at some of the myths and the truths behind thunder and lightning. Thunder is something we always hear and sometimes even feel when storms roll through. There's plenty of myths and truths about thunder and lightning that we may not even know about, like if thunder can flare up your allergies, or if it's louder when it's cold, or even if it's true or not, whether or not lightning strikes can never strike twice. Meteorologist Michael Behrens gives us all of those answers. First, he verifies something known as thunder fever.
Verify is brought to you by Fairway Ford of Henderson, building trust one family at a time.
Have you heard of something called thunder fever? Well, our Verify team works to cut through the social media clutter you see and gives you just the facts. As for thunder fever, some online buzz says during a thunderstorm in the spring and summer, asthma sufferers should stay indoors because of the phenomena. Well, it's a combination of thunderstorms and a high pollen count. So is this a real thing you need to worry about? Our Verify team contacted an allergy expert at the U.S. Army Centralized Allergen Extract Lab, and she says pollen can cause some people who have asthma to wheeze, making it hard to breathe. And when a thunderstorm hits, massive amounts of small pollen particles are whipped into the air, and that can cause an asthma attack. We then spoke to a doctor who specializes in allergies about pollen grains.
They can be brought into the lungs much deeper than in a normal situation and in large quantities. So pollen or mold allergic patients can start to wheeze and have severe asthma worsening because of that huge load of allergen going down into their lungs.
So we verified that yes, thunder fever or thunderstorm related asthma attacks are real, but our experts say it's not that common. If you have something you'd like us to verify, email us or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Use the hashtag CBS19Verify. While storms aren't in the forecast for this evening, we have seen some questions related to storms in winter on social media. So with that in mind, we'd like to answer a question here. This guy down here, his name's Bob. And Bob has a question about the weather. He wants to know when storms come in during the winter, is the thunder louder? Well, at least it seems that way to him. So let's go ahead and take a look at the evidence for that. As far as what happens for thunder normally, well, it comes from the lightning bolt as it splits through the air. And that thunder comes from the entirety of the bolt, both at the cloud and at the surface. Now, normally that sound will move in a pretty continuous wave and hit you more or less at the same time. But what is different in the winter? What could change that up? Well, the biggest difference is what you would call a temperature inversion, or warm air above and cold air below. Now, sound moves differently through different temperatures of air. What happens is when that lightning bolt cuts through that inversion, some of that sound heads up toward the warmer air, bounces off of it, refracts back down toward the surface, back down toward Bob, and the thunder will appear to be a little bit louder and last a little bit longer for our friend here on the ground. Thunder and lightning can be many things: dangerous, captivating, and oftentimes mysterious. Like this video sent to us from our Houston station, KHOU. This one single lightning bolt just seemed to hit the exact same spot over and over and over again. And then as soon as that one finished up, the storm did almost the exact same thing in a different spot. This lightning bolt here just striking the same spot repeatedly. Well, what causes this? To understand it, you first need to understand how lightning forms. And well, when a cloud starts to form, the electrical charges within it are initially all mixed together. And that's good news, because that means the risk for lightning is pretty low. But as the storm forms, the updrafts and downdrafts start to separate those charges. At this point, you may notice it looks something like a big battery or capacitor. It's got a lot of energy, and it wants to get rid of it. As that storm continues to progress, eventually that charge builds up to the point that it breaks through the air. At that point, it makes contact with the opposite charges near the surface, and that's when you get your lightning bolt. And there's certainly a lot of energy in these clouds that wants to reach ground surface through that lightning bolt. And the best way to show you this, actually a YouTube video from the slow-mo guys. They got super slow-mo video of lightning coming from a cloud. You can see all those little stepped leaders, those feelers coming out from the cloud looking to reach the ground. A lot of energy built up here. As soon as it touches the ground, all of that energy comes through in this single lightning strike. And it doesn't have to come out all at once. Enough energy in the cloud, it can pulse multiple times as it did here, or many, many, many times as it did in that video from Houston. While we don't understand everything about how lightning forms or why it strikes, where it strikes, we do know this: it is dangerous. That's why we offer you these lightning safety tips. Move to shelter, vehicles, or indoors. Stay away from tall objects like trees, and avoid open fields, hilltops, and water. When thunder roars, go indoors. For CBS 19, I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens.
Michael, and I know sometimes lightning can be mesmerizing to look at, but it also has its place in the severe weather category, so you have to make sure you're careful when lightning strikes. Now it's time to talk about one of Mother Nature's most destructive storms, tornadoes. Stay with us. In 2017, we saw some of the worst tornadoes rip through an entire community. On April 29th that year, an EF4 tornado with winds of around 180 miles per hour hit the city of Canton, causing a path of destruction. That same day, a total of 7 tornadoes were confirmed across Henderson, Hopkins, Rains, and Van Zandt counties. There were a total of 4 direct fatalities along with numerous injuries. 2 years later, also in the month of April, several tornadoes moved through East Texas. The most damaging ones touched down in Cherokee County. One of those tornadoes was an EF3 with winds of up to 160 miles per hour that started in Houston County. That tornado was continuously on the ground for 44 miles. 2 people were killed by that tornado. One of them was killed at Cattle Mound State Park. When it hit, at least 150 people were celebrating Culture Day at the state park. A woman at the event died from her injuries, and several others were also injured. This tornado also moved through the city of Alto, along with another EF2 tornado with winds a little over 120 miles per hour. That storm knocked over trees, roofs were torn off homes, and Alto ISD Gymnasium was destroyed. After it was all over, more than 200 people were without a home. Just 1 day away from the 8th-month anniversary of the Cherokee County tornadoes, we had 7 confirmed tornadoes in the first month of 2020. Those tornadoes were in 7 different counties, and they ranked from an EF1 to an EF0. But time after time, East Texans have shown no matter how strong the storms are, they will keep their faith and rebuild what was lost. And with all of these tornadoes in East Texas, it seems likely that Tornado Alley itself is shifting more into our region. And there's actually a study out that supports this theory. Meteorologist Michael Behrens takes a closer look at this study.
So let's break down that study. What did they focus on? Well, they focused on something primarily known as STP. Now, in the meteorological world, that stands for Significant Tornado Parameter. Basically, that's a composite value that helps us figure out which areas are most likely to see significant tornadoes. And what they found was over the past few decades, that area has shifted further toward the east, while over the traditional tornado alley, it has been decreasing, at least in general. In addition to that, also in general, reported tornadoes have been increasing further toward the east, while at the same time decreasing over what would be your traditional tornado alley. Now, one explanation for this might be some changes to the climate. As the desert southwest becomes drier, that dry air spreads further toward the east. And when that also pushes toward the east is that point at which cool dry, and warm humid air collide. And of course, that pushes the point most likely to see tornadic development off toward the east as well. Now, the study is not saying that these areas have not been seeing tornadoes for years. In fact, since the 50s, this is all the reported tornadoes in the U.S. All of these regions have certainly seen their fair share of tornadic activity, and in fact, most experts believe that there are multiple tornado alleys out there, including the Dixie Alley toward the south, Hoosier Alley in the Midwest, Carolina Alley out toward the Carolinas, and of course, your traditional tornado alley through the Plains states. Some of the main concerns, though, is if that system does move further toward the east, where you see more tornadoes developing, is the damage it might cause. Now, in the Dixie Alley region, building standards aren't typically as high as they are in other parts of the country. You have a denser population in the Great Plains, and you have this, higher levels of nocturnal tornadoes, which by design are more dangerous than tornadoes during the day because you can't see them. And in fact, even though this area has less tornadoes than Tornado Alley, it does have the highest percentage of killer tornadoes already, even without the higher shift moving off toward the east. So with that in mind, regardless of the trends, we say this all the time in weather, you always want to keep an eye out for tornadoes because they can happen any time of the year and at any part of the country. You never want to let your guard down.
We can't stress enough how important it is to have a plan in place before severe weather strikes. Whether or not you live in an apartment or a house, it's important to know where your safe place is. So taking a look, this is a 1-story house here, but if you have a 2-story house or more, then just remember that the lowest floor is always going to be the safest place. Now, you want to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. So taking a look at this floor plan, we are seeing that the closet has about 2 walls in between the outside and you. So the closet would be the best place to go for your safe area. And then the other places, they're all exterior rooms because they have walls leading directly to the outside. And because flying debris can be the storm's #1 killer, you're going to want to be in an interior room and a place that has no windows as well. And you can go bring some blankets and maybe even a couch cushion and keep yourself safe. But what if you live in an apartment? Well, we got you covered there too. Hey.
Hey, we just got an alert that there's a tornado watch. Do you care if we come downstairs and hang out with you for a little bit?
That's fine, come on in. What they did was have a plan in place. They talked with their downstairs neighbors and made sure it was okay to take shelter here if there was a tornado warning.
In the event of a tornado warning, here's what you need to do.
First, you need to make sure you have sturdy shoes on. So slide on some tennis shoes or some boots that you have in your apartment. Once you're done slipping on your sturdy shoes, most people say to grab a mattress and use it as protection, but it's just me, and this is a pretty big mattress, and I'm not gonna be able to carry this all on my own into such a small space. So the next best thing is going to be a couch cushion. So grab a couch cushion and use that to cover your head. And then as we continue on, you can also grab some pillows and blankets for extra safety as well. The area that I chose as my safe place is a closet that has 3 to 4 walls in between me and the outside, no windows, and 1 entrance. Get down and cover up. Use your blanket and your couch cushion as protection from any possible flying debris. While you're in here, make sure that you have the weather radio or CBS19 Weather Team playing in the background so you know how long the tornado warning is and you have all the latest weather alerts. And I know we always say mobile homes are one of the worst places to be during a tornado warning, but it's home to many of us in East Texas. So where do we go? One option is investing in a storm shelter. You can put it on your property, or you can check with park management to find out if there's a storm-safe building located on the premises. Another option is driving to a community shelter nearby if you have the time, or if you're taking the extra step, you can be anchoring down your mobile home as well. Now, when the time comes for severe weather alerts to be sent out, watches and warnings can be something that can be a little confusing. A tornado watch means that the conditions are favorable for a tornado. So when you're under a watch, think of something like watching out for a tornado. And a tornado warning means that there's a tornado either radar indicated or spotted in your immediate area. Take cover. So if you want to think about it as warning, warning, take cover now. Now, there's also a tornado emergency, which we don't see often, but that means that there's a tornado on the ground and there's a severe threat to human life and catastrophic damage. So if you see one of those, you need to take action and go into your safe place as soon as possible. Well, you see what we do on air during severe weather, but have you ever wondered what goes on behind the camera? Well, Chief Meteorologist Joel Barnes gives us a behind-the-scenes look of how your weather team puts together what you see on air.
Chief Meteorologist Joel Barnes here. We're going to give you a tour of behind the scenes here in the CBS19 Weather Center. One of the first things we do is we check with the National Weather Service chat. Well, that's not the first thing. First thing we do is we get our coffee. But after we get our coffee, then we check with the National Weather Service chat. It's important to check with the National Weather Service chat. We got to remain in constant communication with them so we can let you know about any severe weather could be heading our way or any weather alerts. And then we start to focus a little bit on our forecast. It's important that we also check with the Storm Prediction Center. They are the ones that issue those slight and those moderate risk you see us do. Like right now, they do have a day 5 weather risk, a 15% chance out for some thunderstorms on Tuesday. So that's something we're going to be talking about. And then we pull this up. So it's basically a text forecast. It looks like a whole bunch of numbers. We'll get close here. Zoom in on some of this. You see a lot of just a lot of numbers that are showing up here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but as a meteorologist, we use this to tell you our low temperature for the night, our high temperature the next day, things like cloud cover, precipitation chances, wind direction are all things we look at. And then when we're done coming up with our numbers, often we look at this. This is a forecast model. This is just one of the several sites you can use. So this is a long-term forecast model that we're looking at. You see it shows you precipitation, chance for maybe some ice or snow, as you see here showing up. That could be coming in, it looks like maybe Wednesday morning and Thursday morning. So that's something else that we'll be taking a close look at. We'll break it all down for you. And then once we come up with all of our numbers on our forecast, then we got to upload it to our weather computer, and that's when we start building the graphics, and that's when the fun happens. All right, so as we finish our forecast, precipitation chances, highs, lows for the next 7 days, we've got to enter into our weather system here. We use a WSI. There are other weather softwares that meteorologists use across the country. This is the one that we prefer. This is what we use. So basically, we come in here and we enter the temperature that we think it's going to be for each of the days. And if you notice here, when I'm moving it, it changes it up here in the software. So then it'll actually update what we think the lows and highs are going to be. Obviously, if you write the wrong thing in there, that's what's going to see on TV. So we'll have to finish and go back and edit that. So, all right, so we've done our forecasting, we've built all of our graphics, and then we got to record hits for the radio, also social media, and this is all as we're just beginning to get our day started. All right, so after we came up with our forecast, we built our weather graphics that are ready to get going for the 6 p.m. newscast. Then we've made a social media post on Facebook, Twitter, updated our internet, and now we got to do a radio hit. So here's what we do with a radio hit. We'll record it. Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Joel Barnes for CBS19. It'll be down to 38 tonight, low 60s for your Saturday morning with sunny skies. Sunday near 70 for the Super Bowl, and showers returning as we get to Monday, Tuesday, and much cooler weather Wednesday, Thursday into next week. All right, so once we record our radio hits, then we send them to our radio partners, which is Kicks 105.7, 104.1 The Ranch, Jack FM, and then we get them uploaded, and then you can actually hear them on the radio. We don't even have to send them anything. We just drag these files over to a media dropper. Boom, there you have it. All right, so once we're done with our forecast, we build our graphics. We got our radio done, our Facebook, our Twitter, our social media, our KYTX CBS19 weather app, and then we come to the fun part. We put on the makeup. You got to powder the head because our lights are so bright in there. So if I don't get this on my head, it'll be shining out there. So it's not quite as important to people that don't have a bald head to put on the makeup, but it's definitely important for us. So once we get the makeup on, we're all ready to go. We're shining. We look good. Then we go start on the TV stuff. All right, so after we got dressed up, we got our vest on, we got our makeup on, we got our clicker in hand, we're ready to record our first internet weather of the day, typically around 4 o'clock. Here we go. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Friday out there. Plenty of clouds. A weak cold front's going to come on by tonight, ushering us. Look out for some of those thunderstorms, though, into the day on Tuesday. And look at next Wednesday, Thursday next week. Could be cold enough maybe for some mixed precipitation to move on in. All right, so once I'm done with that, it'll go to the back, they'll upload, they'll bring me that file. I'll put it on our Facebook page as well as our CBS19 website, and you can check out our full weather forecast there. But that's pretty much what we do behind the scenes. Then we get ready for the real fun when the newscast starts at 5 p.m.
Well, that was a behind-the-scenes look at what we do here, but what goes on inside the National Weather Service, we'll show you how in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Stay safe, stay informed, stay weather aware with CBS 19's Brittany Morales.
In East Texas, we work with 3 different national weather services in Dallas, Houston, and Shreveport. I took a trip to the office in Shreveport to get a closer look at what they do during severe weather, and you'll also get to see how we work hand in hand with them.
Yeah, Brittany, basically we have 2 forecasters here all the time. That one will handle the short term, one will handle the long term when we have benign weather. But when it comes to severe weather, we'll start staffing depending on the type of weather we're expecting. It could be tropical storm coming in, it could be severe weather, it could be winter weather, it could be whatever it is. We'll start ramping up. We'll start calling in additional staff, somebody dedicated to watch the radar, somebody dedicated to talk to you guys with the media. So we'll have a communications person that's like relaying reports from the media and back and forth. So if we hear something, we'll let you guys know. So that we start ramping up depending on how the event evolves. Well, Brittany, this is our operations area, and as you can see on here, we've got multiple workstations in here, and they're not currently being used, all of them, but on most days we have at least 2 people here working on the forecast, but we can ramp up with any of these other workstations. They're all independent. They all can do the same thing. So we can call in someone if we have to have somebody that's looking just for rivers. If rivers are flooding and we have to issue warnings and watches or whatever for that, someone can take that off and do that. If somebody has to focus on a certain area of our forecast area, let's say we've got severe thunderstorms over deep East Texas near the Toledo Bend area, but we have another area of severe thunderstorms that's impacting southeast Oklahoma and southwest Arkansas. Sometimes we'll split up that area. So we can call in an extra person and say, okay, we're going to subdivide the area of our responsibility and say, okay, you're going to watch the storms in this particular area, because a lot of times these storms can spin up in a moment's notice. So we don't want anybody to miss anything. We want to make sure everyone stays warned. So it's those kind of calls where a lead meteorologist can come in and say, okay, we're going to subdivide, or we're going to hand out duties. We want you to watch flash flood warnings. We want you to watch severe thunderstorm warnings. Another person may be solely responsible for tornado warnings in a particular area. Time's of essence, so we have to make quick decisions. We've got to be able to handle that, and because I mean, if you don't, people could be injured or killed, and that's what we're trying to mitigate, the loss of life and property damage. It's called NWS Chat. It's not open to the public. It's just basically all the people that have to deal with weather behind the scenes, emergency management, the media, weather service, and other federal and state agencies. And if there's a weather report that comes in from one of those sources, we treat it as ground truth. We go with it. And those reports are coming in. That could be helping us make that split-second decision to go ahead and issue a tornado warning, maybe upgrading a severe thunderstorm warning to a tornado warning. It's those kind of things. But having that system in place that has direct communication with the broadcast media, it pays dividends, especially when there's adverse weather. And so I was just like, you know, I'm gonna do something that I like. And I like how with the weather, things are never the same. You hear of severe weather, but no two events are the same. There's always something unique. There's always something challenging. It's always changing. That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it, for a lack of a better word, fun. I mean, I know severe weather can pose a lot of problems for people and stuff, but it's just seeing that raw power of nature and how it can unfold, and knowing that you have it, and tying it into what I do every day, and especially when it comes to severe weather and active weather, being able to make those split-second decisions that maybe if I do it quick enough, maybe if I find or see that rotation fast enough, I can save that life. I can help that person.
Secret passion for weather or want to help your CBS19 weather team during severe weather? Stick with us and I'll tell you how you can help after the break.
Stay safe, stay informed, stay weather aware with CBS 19's Brittany Morales.
If you're a weather enthusiast or love weather like I do, then listen up to what I'm about to tell you. The National Weather Service is holding training for you to become part of the Skywarn program. Well, what is the Skywarn program, you ask? Skywarn is a volunteer storm spotter program that started back in the 70s by the National Weather Service. The program includes close to 400,000 trained spotters from across the nation. Anyone can become a volunteer, but the program usually attracts those with emergency services background or amateur radio operators. Skywarn spotters help share information on all types of weather hazards, but they're needed most during severe weather. Spotters are trained to identify and report important details during severe storms, like wind speed, hail size, and tornadic development. Any type of storm damage as well observed in their area. It's important to know storm spotters are not storm chasers. Spotters are meant to spot the severe weather happening in their community and give the National Weather Service ground truth to what they are seeing. Becoming a storm spotter is not only helping the National Weather Service, but it also helps your CBS19 weather team. So if you would like to become part of this program, go to cbs19.tv for a full list of classes near you.
At CBS 19, we always talk about the helpline, but another thing that's really important is sending in photos to our weather team. Now, if you see some weather in your area, first of all, stay safe. But second of all, if you see it, capture it on your phone and send it to us at weather@cbs19.tv. We may use it on air in our forecast and in some of the things that Joel and the weather team does. First and foremost, we love the photos you send in to us here at CBS 19, and I have to give you props because you send some amazing photos. I mean, we've gotten a ton of photos over the years, but if you see something interesting in your neck of the woods when it comes to weather, first of all, stay safe. But when you see it, take your phone out, turn it sideways, send it to us at weather@cbs19.tv. We'll take that photo and it may be used in our on-air presentations, something that Joel and the weather team certainly appreciate. And you've seen our 6 p.m. newscast, so you know this. Joel zooms in super close on the photo, and when you zoom in like that, it's kind of hard to tell what it is, and I've got to be totally honest with you, I don't usually get them right. I get one here or there throughout the week, but when he zooms back out, it's this big, beautiful photo, courtesy of you. We see sunrises and sunsets all the time, and they're absolutely beautiful, but just so you know, we'll take other things too. We'll take your kids playing in the rain, your dogs playing in the mud, maybe your kids and your dogs playing in the mud that came from the rain. We take it all here at CBS 19. Even tornado photos. Be sure you stay safe, but we would love to have those as well, so be sure to send them in. So that email address one more time is weather@cbs19.tv. Send your photos in. I'm Aaron Baker, and I'm going to be honest with you, I can't wait to probably guess your photo incorrectly.
Stay safe, stay informed, stay weather aware with CBS 19's Brittany Morales.
Temperature and precipitation can have a major impact on severe weather in East Texas. In order to help predict what we can expect for the next few months, the Climate Prediction Center puts out outlooks for both temperature and precipitation. Jacqueline Laura tells us how things are looking as we head into the spring.
January started off pretty strong with storms across East Texas, and severe weather season hasn't really kicked off yet. Of course, a major factor in severe weather is temperature and rainfall trends. So let's look at how things are forecasted to change in the months ahead. Now, looking first at precipitation through February, well, things are looking normal. As for those temperatures, well, they're looking normal as well. With that being said, the trends in February would indicate that the weather is going to be about normal. Now, that forecast does change in the spring. Starting again with the precipitation, we see things looking normal for March through May. But for those temperatures, things are going to be looking different. Right now, the forecast is for a 40 to 50% chance at above normal temperatures through spring. Now, generally speaking, warmer weather could bring stronger storms, so it is important we keep our eyes open as we head into the spring months. Of course, CBS 19, we will have you covered all spring long.
So that's what's expected in the next 3 months. After the break, we'll show you how to stay weather aware.
Stay safe, stay informed, stay weather aware with CBS 19's Brittany Morales.
Now that you know more about severe weather, it's important to have the CBS 19 app so you can be alerted as soon as severe weather is in your area. Meteorologist Michael Behrens is here to walk you through that process.
You know, we talk a lot here at CBS 19 about making sure you download our app and have those weather alerts ready to go, but that only does you so much good unless you know actually how to set up those alerts. So let's go ahead and step you through the process. Well, first you need to actually download our app to your Apple or Android device. It's in the App Store or Google Play. The easiest way to find it is just to search KYTX. Once you have it downloaded, you'll see the blue umbrella icon with the CBS 19 app. Open up the app, and while it loads, you'll get a nice little welcome screen. It'll show you a picture from somewhere around East Texas. Wish you good morning, good afternoon, good night. Depends on what time of day it is. But once you actually get into the app, you need to go into the settings menu. You can access that via the gear at the top right of the app, and then you'll see notifications. If you open up the notifications settings, you'll get several different types of notifications, but the one we want to focus on right here is weather alerts. So if you click on severe weather alerts, you'll see a couple fields here. First, you need to turn on severe weather alerts. You hit that toggle. That'll let you pick what type of alerts you want to get, but you also need to make sure they're set up for your location. Usually it'll figure that out, but if it doesn't, you can change your default location, pick anywhere you want across the U.S. You'll get alerts for that spot. And of course, that's what you need when those storms do roll overhead. Of course, we do have a second app that you might already have on your phone or want to have on your phone. That's the red umbrella. That's the KYTX weather app. This one doesn't include the news portion, just focuses on the weather, has a nice little radar and our forecast right in the palm of your hand, but of course you can set up those alerts too. In this case, you open the 3 lines menu in the top right, click on settings, and then it's very similar. You turn on station notifications, and then you can set your location. Usually it'll figure out your location on its own, but if it doesn't, you can click on weather notification types and toggle your settings, and then again, it should find your location by itself. I think this one already has me pinned. I can see that green dot over Tyler. That's what you want to see. Basically, again, this app works the same way. If you have your location set, you'll get those weather alerts sent right to your device. Of course, if you get any additional prompts about allowing notifications on your phone, make sure you accept those, and you should be set up and ready to go the next time storms move through.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our time together, and now you are weather aware and prepared for this upcoming severe weather season. But if you aren't, CBS 19's got you covered.